So hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the problem sum of distances from the latest LeetCode weekly round. So the question is like you are given a zero indexed integer array nums and there exists an array AR of length uh, nums dot length where ARRI is the sum of I minus j over all j such that num j equals to num I and j and I is not equal. If there are no such j, set AR to be 0. So let's understand the problem statement first. So basically, in this question, we have given an array like so. This let us say this is A1, this is A2, this is A3, and this is A4. And the indices of arrays are like 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? So if any uh, AI and AJ are equal, if any AI and AJ is equal, then we have to calculate the absolute difference between these pairs. All possible pairs. Let us say if AI is also equals to AK, then this should be AI minus AK, right? So we have to calculate the absolute difference between all the possible pairs, all the pairs which having this which following this condition, right? And if let us say AI is not equals to any AJ, so in this case we have to just set answer of AI equals to 0, right? So there are many approaches for this, but we have to solve this problem under some constraint like the numbers the numi can be up to 10 raised to power 9, right? So first take an example, then I tell you how the constraints matter in this question, right? So let's first example is like 1 3 3 1 and then 1 1 2, right? So this should be 1 and this is 2, right? So this is the array, and we having indices here. These are index. So these are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have to check for all the indices which having value equals to 1, right? So we write those indexes first. So those are 1, 0, 2, and 3. So when I solve the question for answer equals to 0, then I have to calculate 0 minus 2 plus 0 minus 3, and when I calculate the answer for 2, then I have to calculate 2 minus 0 plus 2 minus 3, and when I have to calculate for answer equals to 3, this should be 3 minus 0 and 3 0 minus 0 plus 3 minus 2. So this gives me 5, this gives me 3, this gives me 4, right? So and for these values should be covered. Now we have been left with 3 and 2, but no other element having a value equals to 3. So in this case we have to set answer 1 equals to 0 and answer 4 equals to 0 because there are no elements which having value equals to 3. We can do this operation only on the those set of pairs which having same values, right? So and let's talk about the constraints. So right, so let us say if the num I the num if num I is up to num I is up to 10 to the power 5. So in this case we can simply take a vector, a 2D vector, right? 2D vector, and we are taking a 2D vector, we are taking a 2D vector. We and just how we are going to store when we found any duplicate values, like in this we having 1 3 1 1 and 4, right? Yeah, 1 and 2 anyways. So in this case I can store these values like for 2 1 equals to 0 in this index, and b 1 as 2 and B1 as 3, because here the if the constraint is up to 10 to the power 5, because we are having some memory limit, right? We are having some memory limit. So if I make a 2D vector of size up to this, I hope this will work fine. But in this question we are having given 10 to the power 9, so in this constraint we can't handle this. So in this constraint, definitely our memory limit exceeded when we are going to using the 2D vector and just uh, inserting the values as the index of numi, right? So but in this case we have to do something different. So what I use the same 2D vector method, but I tweaked some tweak the indexes, right? So let us say I have 1 3 1 1 and 2, right? And I wrote the indices, so 0 1 2 3 and 4, right? So uh, so if I'm so in this case, how I store these nums in a 2D vector, I simply create a map. I create a map. So I traverse along this from left hand side. So when I encounter one, I store the indices in the index in the one. So I create a map of integer, let us say MP, right? So when I encounter the first value 1, I store this index as 0, right? And when I store MP equals to 3, I store this as 1. And when I again found 1, I can't change the index to 2. In this case, I this index remains should be 1, right? And when I found uh, 1, then I don't change the index. I change this to 0. When I found any new value in those cases, I only change the index, right? So in this case, I have to 4. So yeah, when I encounter the newly 2, then I update the index to 4. So in this case, I can handle all the values, these all values to less than n, right? So in this case, I can easily store the n inside the 2D vector. So there are n rows. This should be sufficient for the memory limit if we are having n rows. But if we are storing num I as rows, then this should be 10 raised to the power 9. This can be. So this definitely uh, overflow the memory limit, right? So in this case, basically tweak this to store all the values in a map. And when I encounter any new element, at this case, I only update its index. Neither I can just replace it with the previous index, right? So let's. So now the values I having are 1, 2. What are the values? 1, 3, right? We having values as 1 3 1 1 and 2, right? And I wrote the index 0 1 2 3 and 4. And now I store these all values in a form of 2D vector. So in this 2D vector, the values are stored like this is for 0 index, this is for 1, this is for 2, this is for 3, this is for 4, right? So the 0 is occurring. Uh, so the numi is never the 0 is not occurring in this case. So when the 1 is occurring at the position 0, at position 2, at position 3, right? So I change the switch num1 with index 0, right? So in this case, at the 0 is because I change the index to MP numi, right? So in this case, I having in this case I having uh, v0 as 1 as 0 2 and 3, right? So I have to store this is 0 2 and 3, and for mp1 there is nothing in the list, so there is nothing in the list, and for 2 there is nothing in the list, and similarly for 2 should be something, there is 4, and for 3 this should be 1, right? So I store the values are like for 0 having in the list 0 comma 2 comma 3, and for 2 we having for 2 we having 4, and for 3 we having for 3 we having 1 index. I store the index, right? These are indexes, right? So now I am left with only these, so I have to found the answer individually. Now this is a sub problem of this problem. So in this case we having some indexes, like this is for value 1, right? This is for num equals to for value 1. So in this case I having 0 2 and 3. So I have to found the all the difference of absolute difference of this with all the other pairs, of this with all the other pairs, for this all the other pairs. So to do this, I know this should be sorted in a increasing order, because I have to try as I have storing indexes in this, and I have trials from left. So every time I have so already this indexes array is sorted. This is indexes array for a specific value, right? So this is already sorted. So I have just performed the operation in this. So for this 0 element, I know all the elements right to this are greater than this. So I just create a prefix array which store the prefix sum of all the elements. So this should be 0, this should be 2, and this should be 5, right? And when I are at this index, I know all the elements right to this are greater than this, right? So I know all the elements right to this are greater than this. So for at any given index, like we are in array, let us assume we are at this position. So I know all the elements right to this are greater than this element, and all the elements left to this are less than this, right? So let us say this is y, this is x, and this is no z. So I know the all the elements right to y are greater than this, and all the elements left to this are less than this. So for this, for calculating this, what can I do? I calculate this sum. So for this, I can do z minus, I know the, if I know the value and I know the length. So if the length of this is x, let us say a, so the answer should be, the answer should be, if the length of this segment is a, then the answer should be a into the value of this specific y, right? For this is for the right part, right? And for the left part, for the left, I know this y should be greater than all this. So let us say this segment length is b. So what can I do? Y into b minus the sum of this specific part, right? For this part. So after summing these two, we can say we are done with that index. So I can basically store the this index to answer, and the sum of both to give me the answer, right? So basically this is a simple, like let us say we are at this index. So all the elements right to this are greater than this. So if I know the length of this segment, let us say this is L. So all these this element y uh, uh, I have to subtract with every number in this, and I have to just know the if I know the sum, so the sum minus y into L, because y is subtracting with all the elements every time, and for same goes to this. This should be, if this should be L, then I know y should be occur L times, and I have to use this sum. So this is a simple sub problem of this question. So when I done with this, I just store the answers and return the answer vector to the uh, return the answer vector, right? And if I having only, let us say like 2 and 3, 2 and 3 are only one element. We having only one element. If we having only one element of similar kind, then I have to just return answer I equals to 0 at that index, right? So let's look on the solution. I hope this uh, should give clarity to you, right? So I just store the num size into n, and I create a 2D vector which store the now and the indexes of all the values of similar type. So I create a map. Map basically store the first index, first occurrence of every number. Store the index of the first occurrence of every number, and then I have just to mm, do this. This should be uh, the first occurrence, and all the elements are pushing back to this vector, right? And then I just iterate through m, because I know there are only m distinct values. We have to deal with distinct values now. So for I iterate through the map, and on I store the size of that index using x. If the size uh, of that is 1, then I have to just continue, because I know if there are only one element in the 2D vector, then the answer should be 0, because we can't perform these two operations. And if the size is greater than 1, then I have to make a prefix array which store the sum of at every index, given index, and then I build a prefix array, and then I iterate through all the values from 0 to x, and then I have to check for every index, and do the same which I tell you in this, to do the right and left, calculate the right and left for both, and finally return the at the given index I store the value, and finally I return the answer. So I hope this should you understand this problem, and thank you.